month is October. It is Nightmare on Beale Street. And if you haven't already, go ahead and take a look at our fear discussion at Oak Court Mall and Beale Street. They are posted on the YouTube. All thing I do is type in the Fresh Cup of MJ Oak Court, Fresh Cup of MJ Beale Street, or fear discussion, all of that, and you will be able to see it. Also, you can go ahead and go to at a Fresh Cup of MJ on Instagram. Navigate that site, click the link in the bio. It is there for you to see. And also a view discussion that we have posted through Instagram. Right? So like, post, and share that post about breast cancer awareness. For each like or share on that post, we are going to donate 50 cents out of our pockets.
Out of our pockets.
Out of not your pockets, out of our personal pockets to breast cancer. The only thing I do is like. That's it. That's all you got to do, right? So it's just simple like. Simple shit. Yep. So hey, he already donated 50 cents out of my pocket. Right there. So, but thank you all so much. So today we're talking about fear, and we have our two guest sippers with us today. Jael, Hardaway, and Corey Clay. Give us some more information about yourself. Thank you for being present.
You're welcome. I am Jael Hardaway, a journalism major at University of Memphis. I do a lot of social media marketing and branding on the side, and I'm just happy to be here. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, thank you.
I am Corey Clay, graduate of University of Tennessee in Knoxville. Currently, I moved back to Memphis native, of course. Moved back to Memphis, where now I work for Nike as the area manager. #1 company, sports industry company in America and in the world. Very exciting.
Oh, all right. Well, great. Also, Barkeep. I don't think they knew that you became the Barkeep officially, so
that's
give us a little bit more.
Yeah. So I'm Barkeep Reese. I am along with MJ. We are, kind of like a tag team now. So I am his co-host to a Fresh Cup of MJ, and so we've been, working things out, trying to make change, trying to make something move, and trying to grow. Indeed. And everything. And Indeed. So far it's been a great experience.
Very much.
Learn a lot. Getting to know MJ a little bit more.
Very.
And he's getting to know me.
Yeah.
We spent a lot of time together, but it's all good. We're
Indeed.
here. And we would love you guys' feedback. Let us know what you want to see. Let us know what you guys think about the show, what you think we can do better. And let us know who you think we should get on. Also,
That's right.
So hey, we're here, and I'm Barkeep Reese, man.
All right. Well, thank you, Barkeep Reese, and also thank you, Jael and Corey, for being on this show. And I am not your fresh cup, but I am your chief tapster of a Fresh Cup of MJ. So I know we've all heard lions, tigers, and bear. Oh my! So that's something we've heard so many times. So let's face it, whether it's lions, tigers, or bears, we are afraid of something. And I have read several books, such as The Subtle Art of Not Giving the F Word. Go check it out. Or the sermons by Dr. King. And even, I'm currently reading Man's Search for Meaning. And fear is a common phenomenon that is coming up. It's something that's been around for a very long time. It's not going to go away, right? We can't destroy it, so why not try to conquer it? Let's not let it control us, but let's control it. So let's talk about it. Because all of us are going to have that, even if it's not yesterday, today, or if it's tomorrow. We all are going to go through it. So Dr. King in his late said that he recognized that normal fear protects us, but abnormal fear paralyzes us. So indeed, there is a spectrum as it relates to fear within the fearometer. So the task is not to avoid or destroy, rather to overcome and prevail through that fear. So let's go ahead and get started. So what is fear? What is that thing? Actually, when you first think about fear, the first thing you think about, like when I say fear, what pops to your mind? Jael, go.
It is a roadblock that is in your life that kind of stumbles you from going to success and meeting your goals.
Okay. A roadblock, Corey?
For me, darkness.
Darkness.
Yes.
Darkness.
Good one.
Okay. So how does darkness present fear? Like describe that. Like be vivid. Like what does that mean, darkness?
To me, it's just that unknown, that not knowing.
Right.
And then as you dig deeper into what that unknown is, it's like an unlocking of your mind, or even right. Of what the fear was that you're going through. Because it could be anything behind that.
Right. Okay. And then Jael, you said like a roadblock. And so that's like your image. It's like a stop sign, like and then for Corey, it's just kind of uncertainty. Yeah. Right. Okay. Well, I think of fear, and although in this conversation we're going to say like what is your fear instant now, but I think of it as a verb. It's a simple act of being afraid of the unknown. Like you said, like I think it's the unknown. Because we're confused or whether we're not prepared or we don't have the most control of the situation, we become afraid of something. And most likely that's the unknown. So it's not really the fear itself. It's really the outcome, in my opinion, or what could happen. So like, I'm not afraid of bugs, but I'm afraid of being stung. I'm afraid of dying. I'm afraid of having an allergic reaction where I can't breathe anymore. So it's not necessarily it's that, but it's more so of like the outcome, in my opinion. You know? What about you, Charles? Yeah.
Agreed. Same thing everybody else said, pretty much. I mean, just being scared of the unknown, or like a roadblock, something that hinders you from doing something because it is unknown. So I just think fear is definitely. I think fear definitely comes in different forms. Whether it's actual physical fear, or mental fear, or something that just like everybody says, false evidence appearing real. So I mean, just like that, in that situation, is like some things that you can actually see and it might appear one way, but it's really not.
Yeah.
Like you jumping off a cliff, but if you have a parachute, the thing about it is, okay, now the parachute might not open. So that's false evidence appearing real, but in all cases, usually the parachute does open. So I think in all, like everyone said, a roadblock, a mental roadblock, or a physical roadblock that's keeping you from doing something because of the unknown. So.
And then to add to what he said, as he said, then you think that the parachute is going to open. So then your next step of fear is, what if I don't land?
Yeah.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So it's always going to be a constant.
The what if.
Yeah.
So it's that uncertainty, whether it's from a lack of control situation, like you're not the parachute, you don't know if it's going to open up, or preparation, like I'm scared to get up in front of an audience because I did not prepare the night before, right? So I think to make it kind of attainable, it's not necessarily the action, but it's the outcome, right? In a sense. Okay. So thinking about the fear, how would you say you normally respond? Let's think about a time recently, and I don't want after I did it, I really should have. I want to know when the fear happened. Like, what did you do? Because I mean, we're not perfect, so we have messes. I want to hear about that innate, abrupt, like immediately if you see a fear or whatever fear you have in your mind, like what happened? Anybody got one?
Yeah, I got one.
Okay.
So I will take my major, for example. So I wasn't always a journalism major because journalism has a stigma on it as though it's absolutely it's like newspaper this and that.
Okay.
So I didn't go forward into it. So I kind of picked other things around journalism, and it never worked. So I knew for a fact I was supposed to do it because I prayed about things that in the oven. But I ran from it because I didn't know how it would take me.
Right.
So, like I said, I ran from it.
You kind of blocked it out. Okay.
Yeah.
I
avoided it.
For sure. I feel like it's coming. Can we all agree like it's kind of coming to anybody else do anything other than like block it out or not even look at it?
Well, I think for me, I also blocked it out, but there have been times where I faced fear head on, whether it was like in class or anything like that. I know one class that was tough for me was accounting. Accounting was very tough for me.
Like everybody's scared of that class.
I remember the first time I W'd it after the first test. I W'd it after the first test, and then I was like, I'm gonna give it some time. But I knew I had to. I had to face it. That was the thing. So after I finally like stuck up to it, that year I really truly did well. I think I made like a 3.5, 3.6 for the whole semester, and like that was my way of like saying I can really do this. I can really complete.
For sure.
This semester.
For sure. Okay. Yeah, I think that's common for folks. I think it's kind of a two-way street. Either you block it out or you try to confront it, right? And sometimes more so of the subliminal ones, the ones you don't even think about, those are the hardest ones because you immediately block it out because you don't even think about it, right? You don't know what you don't know, and sometimes that can be very challenging. I break fear down to two fears, like the interpersonal and the interworld. So you have something where you fight between yourself as well as the world. So like, in the case of the major, I mean, it was, I think you could say it was a fight between yourself, like, am I good enough? Can I make it? Blase, blase. And then as well as fight between the world, like, is this class, like, am I going to actually have a job? Blah, blah, as well as yours too, Corey. So how is fear created? What does that look like?
That's a good one.
Where does fear come from? Like,
Hearsay.
Okay.
For sure. Like, I mean, none of us. It's all like you go folk tales, all these type of things. That's where everything from hearsay. You heard that this is what happened to a person. This I failed this and I became a millionaire. Then you hear 50 other stories say I dropped out of school and now I'm an Uber driver. So it's all about your personal thing. That's why I would say I think you're safe.
Okay. Okay, so like passed down stories, like other people.
Tribal knowledge, yeah.
Okay. Okay. For sure. Like when I think about it, it's like when you're a kid, you don't know where fear is. But then you look at mama, if you hear a loud noise and your mama don't react to it, 9 times out of 10, you're going to be calm. You're going to probably cry a little bit. You're going to see your mom reaction. You're going to be cool. Which is why, like, we grow older, we're okay with hearing, like, loud noise, like an automobile startup. Or we're okay with being in a high seat, right? Because then we look at mom for reassurance, and it's okay. Right? And I would even think that, like, in a different country, some stuff that they hear, like, immediate, probably that they may not even fear, we may be so afraid of because it's conditioned. It is learned based on other people's behavior, like the hearsay, right? Or even, like you said, the encounter, so not having preparation and having the unknown, which I think all of us goes through, and then kind of like you said, conditioned through experience. So when you taste the food and it's nasty, you don't want to do it again. You're like, I'm scared to feel that way. I'm scared to have nausea and vomiting again, right? So you had an experience. It's not a good one, so I'm not going to do it again. I'm fearful of that experience. So it's like I learned from hearsay with my mom, or I learned from somebody else, like, that ain't what's up. Versus, I tried, it ain't cool. And then all the way on the other end, like, I don't know what's going on, and I'm scared. Yeah. And I think that it all goes in that fear meter, like, because we all had different reactions. Whether I see a bug right there, it's not one right now. But if I see one, I'm like, okay, cool. But if I see somebody trying to break in the house, like, that's on my other scale of my fear meter, you know? So I think it's a spectrum, right? So being that we define fear, we kind of know what it is and kind of all about it. Fear is different for each person, right? There's different applications and implications within life. So, and I don't think there's any ridiculous fear, but there are some ridiculous responses, right? So there's not anything that's ridiculous. Everybody's feelings are valid, but it's not a ridiculous response. So have you been afraid, and what is your greatest fear? I actually really want to know. It's like, what is your greatest fear? Yeah, we're going to start there. What is your greatest fear? What is it? I want to know. And if it's bugs, it's okay. It's bugs. That's valid. Think about it. What's your biggest fear?
That's extremely tough.
Yeah, so many.
I'm scared. Anybody got anything? Barkeep? The greatest. The biggest one of all time.
I think, well,
you go ahead.
I think, I don't know if I can even consider it a fear, but like for the past month or two, I've been dealing with like a lot of sleep paralysis. And that has been killing me. Like waking up and like I can see what's going on, but I'm not moving. Like I don't know what's going on. Like
that's kind of scary, Corey. I'm the regional one, okay?
Like seriously, but yeah. So like I've been trying to figure out why that's happening, but yeah, that's like something that has been dealing. That's like seriously, I hate it. Truly hate it.
I actually experienced it last month. It's so scary.
It is so scary.
Yeah, I've experienced it too, but yeah, that wins.
Yeah.
Hands down.
Okay, so why is sleep paralysis scary?
No control.
No control whatsoever.
You're like literally, you're at the
limbo, stuck.
You're at the wheel or whatever you see.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's like when people say the witch is riding my back or something.
I haven't heard that one, but
he said,
how
old are you? Michael, how old are you? Right? Where are you from? Salem? No?
Yeah. I don't know.
Okay.
I have not heard that.
Okay, let's just throw that one out the window.
Okay.
I'll say I'm afraid of rogue wild animals.
Okay.
Like big rogue wild animals. Like,
okay.
If no, I'll tell you what I'm scared of. Have you ever seen like a furless bear?
Like a naked mole?
A naked mole bear.
Yeah, like a furless bear.
No, but that sounds kind of
I kid you not.
Pink,
the scariest thing you've ever seen in your life. Like, if you want to see a werewolf, that's a naked bear.
Okay.
But yeah, that is one of my greatest fears.
Where did that come from, Charles? Like, have you ever been out in the field and seen a naked bear?
Well, no, I honestly was just curious one day because I like animals. And, I'm just like, and so
okay.
it's like, so you just think about it, it's like, okay, I think naked mole rat. You got naked cats, naked dogs, and stuff.
So you said, let me look up a
And
naked bear.
I said, let me just look up a naked bear and see what we got here. And I kid you not, if I saw this thing ever in life in person, I would run.
I'm thinking you talking about. Have y'all seen them 3 wolves on Twitter? Them big old wolves attached to that tree.
Yes.
Now that, my friend, is that made me scared.
I give a hand clap. Whoever recorded that, I gotta give them a hand clap because that. Oh my goodness. Oh yeah. The pink one or.
No, that's not real.
Oh okay.
Thank God.
Oh,
Let me see. Turn it here.
Yeah.
Is it born with that hair?
Well, this one has it's sick. Yeah, so it's very sad. This is what I'm talking about, people. So if you can see that, yeah, hairless bear, very scary. If you see one, run quickly.
A hairless
bear. So go ahead.
Okay, all right. Okay.
Your turn.
I was gonna say roaches, no, but see.
It's like fairly roaches. Okay. There's a spectrum.
Out of roaches though, but
Right. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Roaches.
Right. And I think that, like I said, we should think about these fears, because if we can't think about them or recall them, it's going to be kind of difficult to overcome them. Now, of course, I'm not going to lie to you. I don't think I probably ever overcome a fear of having a hairless bear come into my house. I don't think I would ever overcome that fear, right? But if we did, we can take steps. So I think it's very important for us to, number one, think about our fears and rate them. Like, what's the most extreme, all the way down to what is ridiculous.
Well, yeah,
not necessarily ridiculous, but not that impactful on my life or my actions, for sure. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about, is it okay to be afraid, right? So I'm thinking that we all are human, so it's okay for us to be afraid, but let's talk about more so in a man aspect. Because men in fear sometimes, many people don't want to bring them together. And sometimes I hear, and I'm finna rant a little bit, I get tired of hearing, girl, I need a man that's fearless, a man to protect me. I need a woman to protect me. What you talking about? Maybe that was a little bit much, but just kidding. But on a serious note, manhood and fear, sometimes people don't like putting them together. They say it's not okay, right? And we can even go back and have that deep conversation about how kids are born. Primarily African American kids, black kids are born as it relates to not being fearful or not showing emotions, which emotions and fear, in my opinion, are kind of the same.
Right.
So how y'all feel about that? Can men be men and show fear?
Yes.
Why? So yes?
Why? Because it builds your character. It shows you how you can go about it when certain situations come.
Okay.
So I feel as though you're supposed to do things afraid, even though if you don't want to.
Oh.
So that's how I overcame fear. I'm probably jumping into the more in the discussion, but I do things afraid.
Okay.
And it builds character and it builds confidence within myself. So I think it's okay.
You do think it's afraid? Okay, we're gonna come back to that. I like that. I never thought about that. Yeah, Corey.
Men can be afraid, but men should not show fear.
Okay, explain that.
We can almost about how she said she walks in. You said you walked in afraid, right? Like that's how you conquer most things. I don't think we should show our fear. Like, I mean, there should never be a time about if my son, if I'm the protector of my son, he should see when I'm down. I should always give him 110%.
Right.
So my thing is, even though you're scared inside, be sure to always show that you keeping your head up, regardless. Explain to him or explain to the person that you're growing that, yes, right now these are troubling times, but we're still going to keep our head up. There's no need to be fearful because we'll get out of it.
Okay.
So, you know what I'm saying? There's still a sign of fear, but at the same time, changing your mentality, you can become happy regardless of what's going on.
Okay. You hit on 2 points. You did hit on 2 points. You said you can't be afraid, but you shouldn't show fear. And then you went to say that you shouldn't show fear because fear is like a creative thing and you're going to get through it and it's okay. Right? Is that kind of what you're saying?
Somewhat, yeah.
Okay. I see. I actually would say I would want my son to see me afraid because I want him to see that I am human and I want him to see that it's okay to not be perfect. It's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to show emotion. And I want him to see me at my lowest point, and so I can get to my highest point, so I can be an example. Mm-hmm. So it's a ghost. So I would say I agree with that point. Like, you know, fear is created in the mind because I mean, again, we went from you seeing mama like, oh my God, mama's afraid. Okay, I'm not afraid. Cool. Versus okay, I taste the food, it's nasty, I ain't gonna do that, I'm scared, versus I don't even know what's going on. I think all of those experiences are so impactful on kids or even other people. So I'm not gonna lie. And then Barkeep will come to you. Like, I was afraid to take the NCLEX again. I was. And I was afraid so many with the NCLEX. We're gonna go to a personal example. I'm kind of foreshadowing here, but I was afraid to let people see me fail because I was so perfect. And I realized that my testimony can't be my testimony without people seeing that I actually struggle. And when people say, look up to me, people are like, oh, my Kurt is perfect. I want people to see that, no, you can be at your lowest point. You can fail. you can be not there, and you can get out of it. You can be fearful. I'm afraid, but I'm more afraid of not doing it. But I see your point with that, of course. I think fear is a creative thing in the mind. But, yeah, I think fear, I think I would show fear. Yeah. So you never showed fear, Corey?
Definitely showed.
Honestly, I would say, Corey, you are a very strong person. I'm not gonna lie. I can't really recall seeing you actually afraid. You know, I know. No, I am for real. Like, he's a very strong person. Like, I know it's sometimes where, like, you may, like, after you get through, you be like, man, boy. But, like, when you go through it, I don't really see it. So, like, you are living, you know, what you speak, and you get through it, of course, and you do have a testimony too. So I appreciate you sharing that. Barkeep, you got anything?
Kind of to piggyback off what you said. Yeah. I think it should definitely be a balance with showing fear. I think it should be a case where it's like, okay, yes, I'm afraid, but that's another reason why I should do it. Because on the other side of fear is life. I think that's what Will Smith said. Will Smith. I'm not gonna take it. Right. Will Smith said that. So you know, Will Smith did the for his birthday, he did the bungee jump from the helicopter. Yeah. And so he was and he afterwards he was talking about how, you know, he was so afraid to do it before, but when he did it, he was like, on the other side of fear is
I remember that. Yeah.
What did he say? He said the other side of fear is life.
Yeah, so we're going to have that link available.
Will, go ahead and get in here real quick. Go ahead, call in, Will. But
that would actually be great.
That would be fine. That really would be fine.
Go ahead, call in, brother.
So yeah, but essentially that's basically what he was saying. On the other side of fear is pretty much life. And so once you get over that fear, once you go through that troubled times, you actually find out how tough you are, what you're really made out of. Sure. And then you might actually do the fearful thing and fail, which means that, okay, I need to go back and, you know, get in the gym, or you might get through it and it was like, oh, that was easy. Yeah. So I just think I think we should show as men, we should show more emotion in general, just so we can be more human. Yeah. And obviously I feel like there does need to be a limit to it, a difference in it. But I do think that we need to show more emotion so that we, you know, for mental health purposes and everything like that. So I definitely do agree that, you know, we should show fear. Or we should show that we are fearful but not afraid to go after it.
There we go.
That's kind of the point.
Yeah. Not afraid to go after it. Yeah. So.
Okay. Because I'm not gonna lie to you. I feel like everybody know. Well, I'm gonna let you know now. I'm afraid of wasps. If I'm out with my girl and I see a wasp, I am running, and that's just how it is. And I'm gonna tell her to run with me. I'm gonna say it with me. But I am going to run, and I'm gonna express it. Hey, I've been hurt in my past with a wasp. I can't become friends with a wasp. They don't want to become friends with me. I'm going to run, and I'm just going to have that understanding there. So I do show that I'm afraid. So, but I do agree. Like, if men don't show that they're afraid, or anybody, they'll be taken away from many experiences, testimony. So somebody who shows fear, they'll be more averse, more experienced, have preparation. They won't show that they have limits or be bound by something. They can show that, hey, like, it's not dangerous, detrimental, if that makes sense, of showing fear. I think it shows that you are human, in a sense. So as we mentioned, fear is a long-standing phenomenon. It's affecting everybody. So how has it affected our livelihood? I want to talk about it on a more personal aspect. So how has fear affected our livelihood, or your livelihood, personally?
I missed out on a lot of opportunities because I was so scared to do it.
Okay.
Want an example?
Yeah, please. Drop them examples.
Come back to me.
Okay, we're going to come back. Okay, lost on many opportunities. We're going to come back to Jael. All right, Corey.
For me, the loss of my dad is like it's kind of like I'm still going through this fear of like, what now? Like that taking this step of being the man for my family, and it's been quite difficult. And I think it's caused me to, I don't know, frivolous spending sometimes. I don't know. It
all makes so much sense. I hope people who are friends with Corey are watching.
But no, seriously, I can't really seriously, to be honest. So like frivolous spending for sure, just because.
A second.
Just living in the moment, because now I feel like you never know when it's gonna be gone. Because for me, my father, he would have discussions about, hey, if this happens, I have this prepared. But I never knew, I was always confused on why we're having this discussion in a car before we're going to my grandmother's house. And then it started all clicking, all those things started to click. And now it's me trying to really understand, what he was doing. And, I don't know. It's awakening,
Okay. So the fear of losing your father, the fear of moving on without your father, or being the man of the family.
Yeah, and these next steps I'm taking, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm going into my career, my actual occupation, and him not being there to see me conquer my business the way I am now.
Okay. So do you think if he was still here that you wouldn't have that fear at all? Like all the fears that you have associated with it? Or do you think you would still have a little fear of being alone, not having guidance, or?
I don't think so. I mean, he was someone that I talked to every day, one of my best friends. So that it's kind of trying to find that outlook of who can I talk to now, who's my shoulder to lean on, and who can I trust? Because I've been opening up to people much more than I typically do, and now it's should I truly trust you?
Right.
Because you're not the person who created me. You didn't help create me. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, I see.
Right.
So that's kind of the fear of opening up and truly being 100%, 110% honest with that person.
Okay. So with that outcome of, the effect of that fear is, you said frivolous spending, right? As well as open up to people maybe that weren't there for you, or haven't been there for the long run, or temporary people, which can be detrimental. What else could you think that you've been doing, subliminally or actually purposefully, in order to cope with that fear, whether it's good or bad? Anything else?
I can't think of one at this moment.
Okay, no, it's totally fine.
I can't think of one at this moment. That is, that's something I think about, an unconscious fear that I don't, a subliminal fear that I don't notice. Our subliminal, what is the word I'm looking for? Subliminal.
I'm following. I'm with you.
Subliminal thing that I'm doing, pretty much. That I'm not noticing. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know yet.
I agree. Okay. And sometimes it takes other people, I think, in order to show. Because, like I said, you don't know what you don't know.
You know me.
Very.
If you see one, please let me know.
That's spending. It all makes sense. I actually got goosebumps. I'm like, he is for real. I want y'all to know he's not lying right now. Just so everybody know. Jael's not either, but I've been bringing with Corey, and it's not. He's not lying. Okay. To add to that, I was saying, we're going to come back to Jael for sure, when I thought of two, I wanted to present two examples on a global level that everybody can relate to as it relates to fear. And I think two of them is segregation and climate change. So segregation is one of those negative fears, and then climate change is one of those positive fears. So segregation, white people fear black people for a slew of reasons. I think we can even add to where fear was created. Passed down by mom and dad to the son. Based on experience. And as well as the unknown. I think all of those are... I
said the hearsay.
The hearsay, for sure. I think all those are applicable as it relates to segregation. And what is the effect of segregation? Detriments to African American people. Like oppression and having a very long and hard road to get to where we should have already been. Equity, right? And justice. So that's a negative of how fear can impact, as well as the positive is climate change. Like, we're afraid of climate. I don't even know them. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know much about climate change, right? But presidents are talking about it, and people are afraid of it, right? Those greenhouse gases. We're doing all we can right now because we're afraid that the greenhouse gas is going to get trapped in the world. I get it. I get it.
You only got 12 years left, they say.
Right, but guess what? We're afraid, and guess what? It's making us make some changes. We're making some changes on this earth. The presidents are talking about it. The person supposed to be the leader of this country is talking about it. Right, so there's a spectrum when it relates to fear. There can be a good fear, and there can be bad fears, right? As humans, we focus more on the bad. I think 1,000 people can say 1,000 things positive about you in a day, but that one person say your breath stinks. The next 10 years, you think your breath is gonna stink. You're not gonna forget that, right? So, and we're gonna come back to rather talking about good fears and bad fears. But Jay, I want you to speak about your fear of missing an opportunity.
Missing out on opportunities. So, opportunities of being happy within myself and doing things that truly make me happy because I feel as though it won't work out.
Okay.
So, the fear of unknown. Is it gonna, for example, I want to potential start a branding company.
Okay then. Okay then.
But I'm scared of, not getting the feedback I want.
I can see the unknown.
Yes. So what is going to happen next?
For
once
sure.
I put my foot
For sure.
in the door.
Yeah. I think Corey, you mentioned a good point, which I really appreciate. You mentioned the what ifs. And like I think with fear we work ourselves up into a whirlwind. It's like I said, it's not about the noun, it's about the verb, the action behind it of okay, your business or your branding, right? What if I don't win? What if I don't get support? What if I waste my money? What if I waste my time? Right? So I'm working myself up, but I'm not saying what if I actually win? What if I actually get a lot of support, right? Because the negative is so much more attractive to the ear, to the eye, because we want to be perfect, right? And the unknown, mostly 9 times out of 10, sometimes, in my opinion, can be negative, right? And we think about that, but I think it goes to shifting our mind about the unknown and being more positive. Do you have anything, Charles, like a fear that has affected your livelihood?
Yeah. So
I actually do.
So when I first graduated last December, I did have a job coming right out of school, and I was looking in that whole semester, I was just applying. And so I was applying. I kid you not, I can go on my LinkedIn right now and show that it's still there. I applied to about 200, 250 jobs. And literally, they were calling me back, oh, okay, yeah, your resume looks good and everything, yada, yada. And then they would say, oh, but we're not paying for your relocation. Okay, well, okay. And so, it just that kept going on over and over again. And so when I was in school, I was used to ripping and running. Like I wouldn't get back to the house. I would leave the house at about 7, be on campus at like 7:30. I wouldn't get back to the house until like 10:30 for being on campus, just because I was doing so much. I was involved.
Right.
And so, getting out of meetings and everything. So I'm used to being on 10 every time. So when I graduated, it just kind of, and I kid you not, I had, so I graduated December, like December, the second week of December, and then I went through the whole month of January and pretty much the whole month of February. And within that time, I had about 2 anxiety attacks because I did not know what I was fearful of what my future was. And I was like, I've been involved in all these things.
Man.
I've been to all these meetings. I got this dope resume. I set up here and did the internship. I did everything everybody told me to do. Go to college, get a degree. And it's still nothing. I still don't have a job. And I decided, I was like, I'm going to stop worrying. I'm going to just try something. I'm going to just do what I know to do and to just, just have faith and just keep going and keep trying to be positive. And then I actually got a call from somebody.
Amen.
And, it's like I got a call from somebody that I couldn't even apply to.
Right.
Which was crazy with the job I have now. And so they don't even have like an application on LinkedIn or anything. Like the recruiter called me and was like, hey, do you need a job?
But God.
Hello, yes.
Hello, hello, somebody.
Hello. About time. Do all right. So I guess the fear of uncertainty and the fear of I think it was more so the fear of my worth. Like, what was I really worth?
For sure.
That kind of came out. And it was like, dang, wait a minute, I thought I was all right.
Right.
And it's like, people were calling back saying yes, but I wasn't worth enough for you to pay for my relocation. So then that started coming in my head. And then it was like, I'm not worth enough to get a call back for the jobs that I really, really wanted. But everything happened for a reason. And like now that I've been through that, I kind of know how to deal with uncertainty fear and like working for something fear and being patient working through fear.
Right.
And so yeah, I think that's something that has affected my livelihood. So
yeah.
He said something that I made a note about when I was just thinking about the conversation we have here. He said fear and anxiety.
Yeah.
And how those coexist. That's something that I really would hope that we would touch on. But fear and anxiety and how those like seriously are one and the same, push and pull
like
type.
Brother and sister. Yeah, for real. Cause, and I've never been known to have anxiety.
Right.
But
it hits.
Yeah.
You
It's-
actually look up like anxiety. Some of the like the causes and like the things you see to show that you have anxiety is fear. So it correlates very well. So.
Yeah.
Another thing he added, we're all been prominent people at our university.
Yeah.
And for us to graduate and then freshmen.
It is that change.
Hey,
We are
literally,
freshmen of the real
It
world.
is. No, you
Freshmen of the real
I
world.
was just, man, when I tell you I'm about to hit that point,
Boy,
like,
we become freshmen of the real
Oh
world
my
again.
God.
I can't even say freshmen. We're freshmen of high school.
Literally. And I think it's that change. And I would even go as far to say, and it's just my opinion, this is Mike Curtis, not a Fresh Cup MJ opinion. I think that's why people, not everybody, but in my little mind, I think that's why people re-enroll back into school. That's just me. Like, I'm afraid of this change. I know what I'm doing, which is school. I did it for 12 plus 4, 16 years of my life.
Good job.
I know, right, thank you. I went to school. 16 years of my life, I did this. I know this. I don't know the outside world. Let me get into a graduate program that I don't even probably necessarily even care about, but I know for certain I'm not going to have to encounter that fear of change or that fear of discovering something that I don't want. And I see that commonly.
The comfort zone.
Right. It's that comfort zone, right? Feeling the anxiety. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I think I've had one. I'm not gonna say I had a good, but I had one. It was a breakdown. I'm just like, it was during the NCLEX. During the NCLEX, man, it was about to break loose. But I do want to share one of mine. I do, and I'm gonna be very quick because we need to move on. And it was one of my more subliminal fears. It was my fear of commitment. And it was brought to me by a young lady that I was dating at the time. And it was something that I did not really want to hear. It was something that, like I said, you don't know what you just don't know. And so at that point, I was acting in a way to not go towards commitment based on my previous reactions. And it was something I just didn't think about until it was brought up to me. And I can say that it was detrimental. It was very detrimental to the relationship that we could have had, that we could have, because I was acting unknowingly until she brought it up. And then go back to Corey's point about how you had that fear and you were spending, and I was seeing it. I'm not gonna lie, I was seeing it, and I was like, why is he doing this? and at one point I was like, no more purchases at the social gatherings. I'm not gonna say where you were. Like, no more. Like, somebody take this man's card. But I didn't necessarily think, and I've taken it on myself. I probably should have went a little bit deeper, and I think that we should challenge our friends, and that's something we're gonna talk about moving forward about our now what. But for sure. So I think fear is proportional to the impact on it. Should have a proportion on our impact on our actions and our response, of course. And we should be renewed and rejuvenated and not the opposite. So fear shouldn't necessarily take away, but it should add to us more so. And I think only thing it takes is thinking about it. Like thinking about how do you think. It's called metacognition. Thinking about how do you think and thinking about your fears, for sure. So and then we're gonna go to our now what? Are there good fears? Right? I'm not gonna lie, I did mention one, like climate change. That's a good fear. But like, do you all believe there are good fears? And if so, like, give me one. If you don't believe there's a good fear, tell me why. If you do think there's a good fear, tell me one of your personal good fears.
Fear of prison.
Fear of prison? You ain't going.
Fear of prison. I've heard stories and I don't want to go.
Okay.
Fear of prison.
And guess what? That's gonna impact your actions and your response.
Definitely.
For sure. To life. Okay. Anybody else? Like, do you believe in good fear?
I think all fear is good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also, so do you believe in bad fear?
Yeah.
Okay, so you believe
Bad
there's a
fear.
spectrum.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. Barkeep?
I think there's a good perspective of fear and a bad perspective of fear.
Okay.
Like, Because like she said, I think all fear is good. It's just how you look at it, really. You know?
Okay.
Because like there can be, I mean, you can't say a fear of roses are bad. I mean, if you're scared of roses because it got thorns, like you're just scared of roses.
I'm scared of sunflowers, by the way.
Oh, okay.
I am for real.
Well, okay.
That is something that freaks me
You
out.
like sunflower seeds?
He loves sunflower seeds.
I love sunflower seeds. It's ironic, but I just feel like the big face of the sunflower is gonna suck me in.
Oh my god.
Have you ever seen like a large sunflower before? Like
Yeah.
those things are majestic and overbearing and overwhelming, and I can't do it.
Okay.
I want you to know, like that's the thing. I'm scared of
Okay,
sunflowers.
well, like just like that, that's not a bad fear.
Bad
fear, you know? I can't knock you for not liking sunflower.
I can't do that.
Right, so I mean, that's your personal preference. So I don't think it's a bad fear. I think we just have bad perspectives on fear.
Okay.
So I guess that's where I'm going. Yeah.
Okay, for sure. So like in the case of Corey, so fear of prison. If fear of prison make you don't want to go out and you stay in the house into a bubble, that's probably a bad fear. But if it makes you act righteously and honestly and law abiding, then it's a good one. So like we mentioned earlier, it's not necessarily about the fear per se. It's about the outcome, whether it's good or bad, and on the spectrum of the fear meter. Okay, cool. So now what? So now that we understand that not all fear is bad, rather that your response can be bad, or rather it can be good. All fear must be conquered. Like we said earlier, we don't want it to control us. We're going to control it, right? So we know it's easier said than done, and it's easy to fall short. That's understandable, for sure. But nonetheless, we have to combat this phenomenon, and we have to have a plan. And so with that being said, write it down. So I challenge folks that's viewing this right now to go ahead and write that thing down. So, and even I'm going to challenge myself.
Type it in.
Type it in. You know, we actually haven't been talking to y'all.
Type it in.
You know what? Type your fears. All three of y'all.
Talk to y'all.
Type your fears.
You didn't have to do this.
All three of y'all. Type them things and we're going to read them. For sure. But have a plan and write it down. That's right. I want you to write it down. So what should we consider when we're thinking about conquering fear? What should we consider? So if you want to conquer fear, if your little mentor, your kid say, hey mama, hey dada, mama, dada, how do I conquer fear? What would you say to that young child about conquering the fear?
Having confidence within yourself to know that you can do all things through Christ which strengthens you.
Oh! And
Come on, man.
to have confidence in
Come on,
yourself, to know
Don't sign
that
nothing won't
you
get
can do
that.
all things through Christ Jesus who strengthens you. Okay? All right? Corey! Oh, Corey.
For me, something that I can admit that I have been lacking, praying. I want to make sure that my child knows to pray, because at this time I've been praying, but I know I haven't been praying as strong enough as I can. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. Barkeep.
Remember that kid we saw in Crosstown the other day?
Which one? We saw a lot of... Oh, yeah, I remember.
So there was this kid. He was like
Man.
what?
Oh, my
He was
God.
like what?
Gotta be
7?
about one.
He was not.
He was
one.
not
He
one,
just
but...
said he was like.
Yeah.
He was like.
I don't
he was
know.
like
I'm not
7 or
really
8. He was like. He was
Okay.
like 7 or 8.
Yeah, he was up there.
So he was throwing the.
Pillow cushions.
The pillows cushions on the ground.
It's
The
out there,
big
yeah.
Yeah, so just like little pillow cushions with it. He just kept throwing all of them. So I wasn't gonna say anything, but Michael went up to him and was like, are you supposed to be doing that? And
I ain't
then he was
gonna lie. I thought he was trying to clean up. If you
Yeah.
clean up, I'm gonna like, okay, cool.
And then he was like, no. And then it was like, okay, so what are you doing? He was like, well, I'm thinking I'm gonna jump from the second step onto here, so it could be like my cushion or whatever.
I'm not like it was a far jump for a
like
little
it
kid.
was at least
Oh
what,
my
6
God.
feet.
It had to be.
It had been like 7 feet. He was gonna
Okay.
jump, and but what I took from that was just jump. Because you never know what the outcome will be. Not in that case of him jumping into the
I was like,
cushion.
brother, he would have earned it.
Not jumping to the cushion, but just the ideas that you have, like the dreams that you have that you might be fearful of.
Okay.
Just jump. Because you never know what it's going to turn out to be.
Right.
And I mean, yes, that is maybe like the more radical way to do it. And obviously, weigh out your pros and cons. Say,
Right.
all right, how much money am I going to lose? This goes wrong. How much am I going to make it? This goes right. Look at who I'm gonna hurt, look at who I'm affect. Like, what is this really going to affect? You know, physically, time, everything, all in general, just life in general. Definitely weigh out the pros and cons. But at the same time, even with the cons, even if the cons outweigh the pros, you never know because it's still an if. What if those cons never happen? You know, so you really never know, and the only way you'll know how much you have or where you need to start is if you jump.
For sure. Okay.
And
I see.
so yeah, I think that's my answer to it. So
Good.
jump.
Good. I like that. I like
Not the kid, but
Yeah, not the kid. The kid
yeah.
was he was
Michael.
gonna, he was
Michael was very, very concerned. He said, "Where's your mother?"
like I did though. Like I was about to take the kid to his mom, like because he was literally throwing the like it's like you watching a disaster about to happen.
Yeah.
He was literally about to jump and he wasn't gonna make it.
He wasn't gonna.
He was so small he wasn't gonna make it over there. Or if he did, he was gonna slide and bump and that was just.
Yeah, if he missed, it was over.
And his mama like she was worn out.
Yeah.
So I did her a favor. Should have whooped that kid. But anyway, like Charles, you mentioned a good thing, a good point. He said weighing out the cost and the benefits, right?
Right.
So is this something I really need to be fretting about? And what am I truly afraid of? Is really the action? I mean, it's really the noun, like really the situation, or really the outcome or the verb, like what can happen afterwards. And so it's two things that I learned with the organization I'm involved in, STS Enterprise Mentorship Program. We did a presentation on fear, and it was two things. It says power and response. So how much power are you giving fear over your life? And then what is going to be your response? So I would say that when you're thinking about fear, outside thinking about the costs and the benefits, how much power are you going to give? Like, go ahead and allot that power now. Like, if I see a bug, is it going to make me stay in my house forever? Or am I just going to run away? Or am I just going to ignore it? And secondly, how am I going to let that influence my decision? Am I going to go and fight it? Am I going to not ever go around the wasp again? If I see like many things, right? And I think it's important to think about it, right? Along with jumping is very important, of course. But if you have some time to think about it, I say think about it for certain, and having a plan to move forward. Do somebody have a type of fear right there?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like it was Kaylin.
Okay. Can you read that?
Let me go back to it. I think it just went away, but
I'll pull it down. When you log out, it goes away.
I mean,
Yeah.
we can read it
Of
up.
course, give me a
we
second.
can read it up here.
Of course, give me a second. Go right ahead, Corey.
It says, I'll go first. My fear of leaving this earth and not fulfilling my godly purpose. Leaving this earth and not completing and executing my mission to its fullest potential.
Good. That's valid. And I think a lot of us face that for sure.
Kaylin Harris.
Kaylin Harris. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
For sure. So we're kind of running out of time, but I do want to talk about in our last 3 minutes, of course, about some tactics in order to conquer fear. I think that's probably the most important thing I want for us to leave with our viewers, our sippers, our community here. So if you had to give me 3 or at least a few tactics, very concisely that you will say on how to conquer fear, that you, even if you're not living by it, what would you advise to somebody who's going through a very hard moment? 30 seconds. You're on the spot.
So,
we're live.
I take my journal.
Okay.
I write down all my fears
Okay.
and what I want to accomplish. I pray about it, of course. And then I do it afraid. Just go for it.
I really want you to talk about that. Oh my God, that was so important. Okay. Corey, go, and then we're gonna come back because I really want you to talk about that.
Yeah. For me, breathing. Breathing is something. Breathing, which in tune is also a form of, I would say, meditating.
The Apple Watch, it comes up. You better
Yeah.
do it. I don't be doing it,
It's
but you better
serious.
do it. Yeah.
Of course, as she said, praying, even though that's something I have been lacking, need to work on more. And third, the slogan of my employer, just do it.
Just do it. So really, kind of the same thing.
Yeah, we
talking
good.
about. Okay, that's what's up. Barkeep, you got it?
Oh, she needs to go. Yeah. She
Okay,
gotta go.
sure.
Yeah, we got.
Oh, yeah.
So when I say do it afraid, I take fear into my advantage and kind of like a push almost.
Yeah.
And doing it afraid is equivalent to having faith in
Okay.
God.
For sure.
So, yeah, just to sum it up, I know we've been.
Okay.
So just
Okay.
having faith is doing it afraid.
Okay.
Because you don't really know what the outcome is, but you know that the higher power has you at the end.
Okay. Cool. Actually, what we'll do after this video ends, we're gonna ask Jael to stay. We're gonna talk about that a little bit more. We're gonna put you on the spot a little bit more about that. Okay. For sure. Okay. Barkeep, you got anything?
I don't have 3 things, but
I do have one.
I do have
Okay.
just like they said, I mean, do it scared. Just do it.
Yeah.
Jump. That's 3. Yeah.
Hey. Right.
So,
Okay.
yeah, for sure.
Okay, so take a deep breath, analyze, stop, and reflect on what you're doing. sometimes it just takes thinking about what you're doing in order to do it well, right? Take the deep breath. Review and figure out how to move forward and have a plan. And then, like you all said, like, just go out there and do it. Sometimes, even if it's not, I think even if it's not the exact action, like, if you're having trouble starting something, just do something. So, like, even if you feel paralyzed by the idea, for example, if you want to start a business, right? You don't got to go out there and buy a business license tomorrow. But going and doodling and thinking about your logo, right? Or thinking about who you want to be involved in your business, what type of business, right? So just writing it down, thinking about it. Like, you can say it all day. Until you write it down, it does not mean nothing, right? It has to be written. If you can write it, you can conceive it. And so I really appreciate you all saying that. And then the last thing is, don't be afraid, like you all said, kind of go back to jumping. Don't be afraid to make those mistakes. Because the more you make a mistake, the more testimony you have, the more preparation you will have to move forward. Not everything that's a failure is a failure, right? So not all fears are truly fears, right?
Always a lessons learned.
There is always a lesson to learn. And I think that the thing I really want everybody to kind of feel is that it's not necessarily about the fear. It's about your perspective, along with the power in your response that you give to it. It's okay to be afraid. We just said that. It is totally okay to be afraid, right? But it's not okay to let fear paralyze you. It's okay to let fear move you, right? Does anybody have anything else for the greater good of the group? Like, you had to leave them with one thing about fear. What would you say?
You got something?
I think we kind of.
We hit it?
I think we hit it.
You
Yeah.
know, I'd be ready to keep going. We're gonna go Let's repeat something else, right? All right, man. Well, to the last drop, we have completed a fresh cup of MJ discussing Nightmare on Beale Street. What is fear? It is okay to be fearful. It's the implications of fear and tactics in order to... Jael, like, this man is really talking right now. and tactics in order to conquer fear. I want to thank Jael Hardaway and Corey Clay for joining us today. Thank you all so much.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for joining Barkeep and I'm your chief tapster Fresh Cup. No, I am not the Fresh Cup of MJ. If I'm your chief tapster of a Fresh Cup of MJ.
And I'm Barkeep Reese.
And this is a Fresh Cup of MJ where we pour character, esteem, and community. Stay thirsty, my friends. Stay thirsty.
Peace. Whoa,
Yo.
hey. We still live.
Here we are.
It's going on.
Yep.
Is it going on?
Yeah, yeah, we good.
I don't know yet. All right. Oh, we still here.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, we
All
are.
right. This is the after party.
This is the after party, yeah.
106 BT.
Yeah, bro.
I hope y'all enjoyed the awards.
Literally straight after it.
Like, how did y'all all get there?
Literally. Buffalo sir.
Got a little Duval in the bed.
Yeah, that was good.
For sure. Thank y'all for